Okay, welcome to the first lecture online for the Cold War. So, as we are starting on this, what you need to have with you would be the textbook as well as the SEQ list that I should have given to you guys, and you can follow the slides here as well. Well, if you don't have all this and you wish to just listen to them, I guess that's fine as well. Okay, so we'll get started with this. So I'm going to start right from the beginning and to explain everything right from the start. And we are looking at this for the reasons of the Cold War. And if you don't understand what's the concept of the Cold War, this is what you can do. You can go to this video for I Not Stupid movie, okay, on the YouTube link. And you can watch from the 27-minute mark onwards. Okay, 27 minutes, around 7 seconds. And you will even see the relationship between the father and the mother. And when they're quarreling, they actually made use of their children to communicate. So like the father would tell the mom, like the mother would tell the son, like, can you tell your father that I will not be cooking dinner tonight? When the father is just right in front of her. So that is the rough concept of a Cold War, where basically the things that you have to notice is that there's no communication between the two sides, and there is the use of proxies. Okay, that's the other thing that you would need to take note of. All right, so basically, for I think I can summarize it as no communication and the use of proxies. Okay, so that's basically what the Cold War would be about. Okay, there will be many technical terms in this chapter, so make sure that you understand them. I've already emphasized the importance of this chapter. If you do not get it, it would affect your subsequent understanding for the next 3 chapters. So this is very important. Okay. Now for this one, from allies to enemies. Okay, this is where we're going to start off. There isn't an exact start date for the Cold War, but if we do want to put a date to it, we can say maybe 1945, the end of World War II. But of course, we are not going to start from there, so we're going to go all the way back to the birth of communism. Okay, because all along the entire world, right, they have only seen probably only a few political systems, such as the democratic system, as well as the autocratic system, where you have your king, the emperor, and the queen ruling the entire country. So democracy is a new concept, and okay, as in relatively recent, as in few hundred years, okay, until the birth of communism in 1917. Okay, so what we are going to be looking at now is how did the birth of communism actually affected so many things. Okay, all right, touching on this slide, right, that is the focus as well. How did the relationship between USA, Britain, and Soviet Union change after World War II, and how would this change actually affect them subsequently? So basically, we're going to be looking at reasons for the Cold War. Okay, the question to think about here: why did the USA and Soviet Union become Cold War enemies despite being allies in World War One? In World War Two. And these are some of the reasons that we will be looking at. Ideological conflict, okay, that's the one I mentioned. World War II, when they actually alliance together to fight Hitler, and after World War II, the various things that each side actually do to annoy and irritate each other. Okay? Okay, so if you refer to your textbooks, page 33, that gives you the overview of the entire chapter, right? They mark the start of the reasons for the Cold War as these 3 chapters you are seeing on the screen now. After that, they broke it into manifestations of the Cold War. But one thing to highlight would be that eventually at the end of the chapter, right, you will see that the given reasons, okay, the given reasons doesn't just cover these 3 chapters, but it actually goes into the manifestations of the Cold War for the reasons of the Cold War. Okay, if you're confused, can we refer now to the SEQ list, okay? Okay, so the common issue is the reasons for the Cold War. You can see here, differing political system, that's one given factor. Okay, let's look through lack of a common goal, that's another possible given factor. Let's see. Soviet aggression, that's another given factor. Soviet Union's fear of an invasion, another one. Okay. And okay, there isn't any other special given factors. But looking at the list of SEQ, when you sieve out all the given factors, then you should have a rough idea of actually what you should be expecting. Okay, so come back to the list again after I'm done with the chapter. Then after that, you look through at each given factor. Are you able to answer for each given factor? Okay, that will be a test of whether you understand or not the reasons for the Cold War. Right, so we start off with ideological conflict between USA and Soviet Union. It is basically a fight between democracy and communism. Okay, not really a literal fight. Okay, there's no punching or shooting of anybody in this, and not the entire Cold War, but these two countries never at one point in time they actually fought each other. So actually, if you do look at World War Two and World War One, that's what we call a hot war. Okay, when actually people are literally killing and shooting each other. And no, I didn't make up the term hot war. It does exist. Okay, so you can search for it as well. Um, right, and I will be going into details right regarding the economic systems of these two countries or these two ideologies. Okay, and I've spoken about this before as well, but an ideology conflict. Okay, because democracy is essentially an idea. Okay, so that's what it means when I say ideological conflict. Okay, since democracy is an idea, communism is also an idea as well. And like I've said before, if you have the brilliance to actually produce another political system in which you can get the support for, that will be a new ideology, And let's see how well you survive with that. Okay, and moving on now to the economic systems of these two political ideologies. So in democracy, I'm sure you understand what it is about. It is about the people's choice in who is the government. Okay, so the people get to choose the government. If you don't like this current government, you vote for somebody else. You know, like if you don't like PAP. Okay, since this is on recording, maybe I shouldn't say that. If you do not like Workers' Party, then you vote for PAP. Yay. Alright, now communism, basically you don't actually get to choose your government, but what they are hoping for is that the basic understanding of communism is that everybody will be equal. Of course, there will be a group of people governing this equal people, but yeah, you see the inherent flaws with the communism system already. Okay, if there's still people who are in charge of the all equal people, then the people who are in charge are not really equal at all. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, but anyway, that's the basic ideology to create a global classless system. Everybody would be equal. Okay. Um, so the political system, as described here, okay, is governed by two or more political parties under the democratic system, and people were allowed to choose their government. Okay, whereas under the communist system, there's only one political party. So in Singapore, you can't say that we are communist as well because we have both the PAP and the Workers' Party in government. Okay. Now, regarding the economic system, okay, this is where it differs. Okay, I like to use the car analogy to describe what is the difference between the two economic systems. So, under democracy, we experience something called a free market economy, which means to say you can do whatever you want. Um, and with respect to that, we use the car analogy. Like let's say if company A, okay, let's say Singapore, we own Mercedes. Okay, Mercedes, they want to produce a car, they draw up their own design and they produce the car, people buy them. Okay, but there is the existence of other car companies as well, such as BMW and Volkswagen, and basically you have a choice. There's healthy competition going around. Everything is not decided by the not everything is decided by the government, but it's up to the people to decide. Okay, that's what it means by free market economy. As long as there's a demand in the market, there will be supply, and the supply is dependent on who wants to provide the supply. For the command economy system that is under communism, the difference here is that the government is in charge of everything. You don't get a choice. So if the government produce a Russian car, that is all you're gonna have. Okay, they will not allow any other competition, any other companies to create another model, another brand of car unless they think that it is necessary. So a lot of things, the main difference between these two economic systems is the control of the government. Okay, under economic system under the free market economy, there is lesser control. Under the command economy, as the word command suggests, okay, it is controlled very tightly by the governments. Okay, so some of the key characteristics here that they mention: all land, all forms of production to be owned and provided for by the states. Actually, that's the case in Singapore. Okay, yeah, moving on. The government to plan and allocate resources depending on what the economy should produce for the states. A more advanced way to understand this is that actually we ourselves we determine what are the resources that the economy should be producing. Like if only there's a demand, then there will be a supply. If everybody wants iPhones, there will be a production of iPhones. Okay, whereas in this case, the government looks at the people and they decide to say, I think you need iPhones. Then only then they produce iPhones. It's not dependent on the people, it's dependent on the governments. Okay? So that is the understanding of the ideological systems, and this is important as well because if you don't understand the ideological systems, it can potentially be problematic. Okay, because we will discuss this again very much so in chapter 4. The key point here to highlight is that it is very different. The two ideas are very, very different, and it's difficult for these two ideas to actually coexist together. Because I mean, if you go back to SS and what you're learning about globalization, the entire world is connected. Maybe not so much back then, but they are still connected in some way through trading, through economic links here and there. Okay, and if these two function on two different economic systems, okay, it is going to be there are going to be clashes and there are going to be potential problems. All right. So as a result, okay, the Western powers they have always been very afraid of communism. Okay, as long as there are rich people and there are poor people, the rich people under democracy they will be very very afraid of communism. Okay, so like I said before, don't become rich. If you become rich and richer, and the poor people becomes poorer, and there is like 10 million poor people as opposed to like 10 rich people, you can imagine the 10 million poor people are going to kill you. Okay. So communist Russia is regarded as a threat, and Russia reacted by forming all these things, which I think I will discuss about that later. One thing you need to take note of is that we will not be referring to them as Russia, but we will be referring to them as Soviet Union. Okay, and Soviet Union consists of these so-called countries as well. Okay, today they exist, this one exists as well. I have no idea who is this actually. Go find out if you need to. And they were not recognized, the Soviet Union, they were not recognized by the USA until 1933 and not allowed to join League of Nations until 1934. And this proves that actually they were very afraid. Because in the democratic side, they are very afraid and wary. Okay, they're very wary and concerned about this communist country because it is something new to them and they don't actually really understand it that much. Okay, so this concludes the first reason for the Cold War. I shall stop here and you shall go on to the next recording for the second reason.